On August 23rd, tens of thousands of people rallied at the National Mall to start a week of commemorations marking the 50th anniversary of the 1963 March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. It drew 250,000 people to the nation's capital and was a key moment in the civil rights movement.
So let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring in Whitney Capitol.
Gary Younge is a journalist and author of The Speech, the story behind Martin Luther King's dream.
I think the main thing to remember is that 50 years ago was not just a walk in the park, a glorious moment of America in Technicolor in which America had a Damascene moment and realized that everything was terrible. It was a massive act of multiracial dissidence in which they took the protests and the confrontation that had dominated the South, and they took it to the Capitol, and they made their demands. It's important to remember that in '63, marches on Washington were very rare. This was the first of its kind, so it was unprecedented and audacious in its scale, and also at a time that most Americans, meaning really the overwhelming majority of white Americans, did not want this march to happen, and they thought that the push to civil rights was going too fast.
The 50th anniversary was organized by the Reverend Al Sharpton.
We see a new America. We see an America of equality, of justice, of fairness. We march because we're going to bring a new America. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Some, including Dr. Cornel West, have argued today's civil rights leaders have not done enough to hold the nation's leadership accountable the same way as the 1963 march aimed to do.
50 years ago, we were dealing with an American terrorism called Jim Crow. And you had a social movement that was expanding. You had a social movement that was intensifying. And you had Martin King, A. Philip Randolph, Ella Baker, Fannie Lou Hamer, and other voices emerging. Today, you have a black leadership that is captive and deferential to the Obama administration, that it has most visible presence. You got voices on the side, Glenn Ford, Bruce Dixon, and others. But for the most part, it is so tied to the Obama administration, we cannot get any truth telling. To see all the everyday people, I just wish we had a leadership that was commensurate with the quality of the people who they purport to follow. Because we had very low quality leadership today on the stage. We saw bona fide apologists for the Obama administration. There was no serious talk about Wall Street. There was no serious talk about the new Jim Crow. No serious talk about drones. No serious talk about the U.S. security state. No serious talk about the massive surveillance state. It was about just voters' rights and maybe some vague reference to jobs. Martin Luther King Jr. turns over in his grave. He turns over in his grave.
Also taking part was Amaju Baraka, a longtime human rights activist, writer, and fellow at the Institute for Policy Studies in Washington, D.C. He recently authored a piece outlining why he feels President Obama should not speak at the upcoming commemoration of the March on Washington on August 28th.
The attempt to link Dr. King, who is a person committed to peace, nonviolence, with the policies of Barack Hussein Obama is in fact an abomination. Barack Hussein Obama has been at the forefront of one of the most aggressive periods of U.S. Imperialist activity over the last 50 years. There's no way we can reconcile Dr. King's commitment to peace and to nonviolence with the aggressive, violent, written policies of Barack Obama. The very fact that this administration is responsible for fomenting civil war in Syria, didn't have the moral courage to call the coup in Egypt a coup, attempted to stop President Aristide from Haiti returning back to his country, who denied the people of Honduras support when they called out for the U.S. to reject the coup in Honduras. These are policies that Dr. King and our movement could never embrace. But yet these are the policies of this government. And by inviting the president, we basically legitimize those policies. We give it a moral standing that is the opposite of what Dr. King was all about.
Go to therealnews.com for the full interviews used in this story. This is Jaisal Noor in Washington, D.C.